SADHGURU'S teachings.
Why am I afraid? I'm successful and, I had some hard times, but I came back. But why am I afraid? What am I afraid for? Like, I'm just afraid that somebody might think I'm a wussy or a wimp or something. Why am I so afraid of that?
We need to understand this. This has been hugely mentioned to put it down. On various dimensions, whether it's fear, or love, or anger, or joy. We need to understand it's not about something, it's by itself. It is not that there must be something that you must be afraid of. It is not that there must be somebody that you are in love with. It is not that you are happy about something or miserable about something. You can be simply miserable. Hello? Thanks. Or you can be simply happy. You can simply sit here just by yourself and be very loving. Sit here and be terrified about nothing. Because human experience is not created from outside. Human experience is happening from within. So what happens from within may sometimes find outside stimulus. But you can work it even without external stimulus. Hello? All of you are experts. Without any external stimulus, you can create pain, you can create joy, you can create misery, you can create anger, love, fear, whatever you want. Because the seat of experience is within you. Only thing is you are not sitting there, you're crawling around it. You're supposed to be sitting there on the seat. If you were sitting on the seat of your experience, you would decide what should be the nature of your experience. Right now, because you're crawling around, something happens accidentally. We find an excuse. It's because of this guy I'm suffering. Even if he's not there, we would find somebody else. If that guy is not there, we'll find somebody else. If that is not there, we'll find something else. So, this is not about something. This is about you have not taken charge of the seat of your experience, that's all. You just need an excuse. And the world will, of course. The world is quite enthusiastic about providing you the excuse. It will. They will provide lots of excuses. But believe me, if you were alone in the desert, you would still go through all these things without anybody around you, without any threat to your life. Yes or no? So, this is the fundamental flaw with life. Instead of fixing myself, I want to fix the whole world. Well, do what you want. You can't even fix one more person absolutely in your life. 100%. Did you get anybody ever just the way you want, 100%? If at all, if you're looking for that kind of success, 100%, you can only try with this guy. Try anybody else, you will fail. Yes or no? Hello? Try anybody, you will definitely fail. There's only one. This one, you could do him 100% the way you want. If you manage this one the way you want, where is the question of fear, suffering, misery, all this? This is not because of situations. This is because of the state we are in. Because no investment has been made for the being. First of all, we must decide, are we human beings or are we human creatures? The difference between a creature and a being is, a creature is a consequence of compulsive reactions to everything around us. That's a creature. A being means you know how to be. If you knew how to be, would you be blissed out? Or would you make yourself fearful or miserable or what? What's your choice? You must choose. I'm going to bless you just… Definitely, highest level of pleasantness, isn't it, for yourself? What you want for your neighbor may be debatable, but what you want for yourself is very clear, highest level of pleasantness. Why such a simple thing is not happening? It is not happening because, we gave you a very complex machine, but you don't even bother to read the user's manual. Simply somehow you want to do it. Such a complex machine, if you try to do it somehow, accidentally, it will cause much pain. So, fear is not about something. Fear is just your inability to manage your thought. They are running away ahead of you. Fear is always about something that's yet to happen, isn't it? Yeah. So that means you're suffering something that does not exist. If you suffer something that does not exist, there are medically very bad terms for that. It's not about one human being, it's just literally 99% of the human population is in this condition. Different levels maybe, but 99% of the human population is in this condition. They are suffering things which do not exist. What happened 10 years ago, they still suffer. What may happen day after tomorrow, they already suffer. What happened 10 years ago does not exist right now. What may happen day after tomorrow does not exist right now. But things that don't exist, they suffer simply because two major faculties that you have which sets you apart distinctly from other creatures is, you have a very vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination. These two faculties, which are the best things you have, this is what most human beings are suffering. They are suffering their memory and they are suffering their imagination. These are the greatest tools you have. So, what should have been the most fantastic well-being? When I say well-being, you know Charles Darwin, that guy? Hello? He said, all of you were monkeys, not me. That all of you were monkeys and you became human. So, essentially, on this planet, you're the peak of evolution. You agree with me or no?
Yes.
So, if you are the peak of evolution, that means you have come with the highest level of faculties. Because there are so many possibilities of being human. Because your life is not fixed like that of a creature. When I say not fixed like a creature, for every other creature, nature has drawn two lines within which they live and die. The reason why an animal's life looks so much simpler and better is because there are no possibilities. So what human beings are suffering is their possibilities. If you destroy the possibilities, you will also be fine. If you want, we can have a portion of your brain removed. You will be so peaceful, you will not know fear, you will not know suffering, you will not know anxiety, you will not know nothing. Yes. All we have to do is take away the possibilities. With the possibilities, the problems are also gone. So right now the problem is the fantastic possibilities that have been invested in us. So to take away the possibilities, either we can remove your brain or we can soak it in whiskey. Both ways you can do it. You take away the faculties, then you're okay. So, the problem is just this, that when you're given something so complex, you need to spend a certain amount of time knowing the nature of the machine that you're using. See, some people are handling these cameras. That's not a spacecraft. It's a simple enough machine, but I'm sure these guys have spent years trying to know it the best. Just any of you get there and do it, what'll happen out of it? Just see a simple machine like a camera. Yes or no? Somebody invested their life. The better they know it, the better they use it. Is it so?
Yes.
Why is that not true with this? The better you know this, the better you use it, isn't it? So if you know it really well, people say you realized.
Human experience upon this planet is essentially the way our sense organs perceive something. Whatever we perceive, if it is pleasant upon our senses, we experience it one way. And what we perceive, if it is unpleasant upon our senses, then that is what in our experience becomes filth. So if our surroundings are not clean, or in other words, if our surroundings are not pleasant upon our senses, the images that we create in our mind, the projections that happen upon our experiencing mechanism or the seat of our experience is unpleasant. When you create unpleasantness like this, then to go into blissful states of experience or to take charge of the seat of experience so that you can consciously generate the nature of your experience, or you can consciously dictate the nature of your experience will become difficult. Spiritual process essentially means just this, that everything that you are will happen consciously. That is, your experience of life is determined by you. Because your experience of life is determined by you, whether you're peaceful or disturbed is not determined by the atmosphere. Whether you're happy or unhappy is not determined by the nature of what's happening around us. Whether you're miserable or joyful is also determined essentially by what you're doing with yourself, within yourself. If this has to happen, it is important that our sense organs are not perceiving something as unpleasant. So creating a clean atmosphere is a natural consequence of people turning spiritual. As a part of this, we have done a lot of work. In the yogic culture, shaucha is an important aspect of one's spiritual development, both physiological and the surrounding spaces. Being in a state of shaucha is very important because our cleanliness is not just within the body. Everything that we perceive through sense organs can either create filth or well-being within ourselves. Based on this, much has happened. We at Isha have created an exemplary sense of cleanliness in people around us. In all the 53,000 villages in Tamil Nadu, we've brought this sense of cleanliness in what is happening there. You can see very distinctly that what it may be in other places, if you enter the places or villages where a certain amount of spiritual movements have happened, there is a certain sense of cleanliness, both of the way people are about personal hygiene and public spaces, there is a difference. Still there is a lot to be done, but I feel the biggest lapse is there is no system to deal with the garbage that is generated in any living society. And of course, we have the problem of multiplying population, but this can be dealt with only if there are very strong, non-religious spiritual movements in the country, so that people understand life is about keeping yourself clean. When this idea sinks deep into you, wanting to keep the surroundings clean is a natural consequence of this.
SADHGURU'S teachings.
When we say Shiva, generally he is always referred to as Swayambhu because there is no particular moment of creation, there is no particular source of creation. He is by himself. That's why the word Shiva means that which is not. That which is not does not happen at a particular time, does not happen through something, it is there. So Shiva was the creator. Brahma came and started creating. So various galaxies, the planets, the life forms, the humans, everything came forth out of him. Creation got into its grind of movement and Shiva, who was still, opened his eyes and started looking at the creation. As he observed the creation, he saw people were going through all kinds of struggles, pains, miseries, agony, various levels. Here and there was little bit of pleasure and joy. So when he saw this, he did not like the creation. He looked around, then he saw Brahma was so absolutely proud of his creation, he was looking at his creation with great pride and joy. Then he found two eyes were not enough, so he popped one more head to look at this side, he didn't want to miss anything. Then he popped one more and one more. Then he popped a fifth head, like a crown for his pride, not to look at anything in particular, just to crown himself with an extra head. When Shiva saw that this Brahma is so gloating about such a miserable creation, he got mad. He attacked Brahma and plucked his fifth head out. Now he has only four, Brahma screamed in pain and said, "Why are you doing this to me?" Then Shiva said, "Are you not ashamed of this creation that you have done? Everybody is suffering, people are going through all kinds of struggles. People are going through all kinds of miseries and pain and agony." Brahma said, "I have not created pain, nor have I created joy. I have just made it. It is up to them how they go through this. It is in their mind." Then Shiva said, "Who created the mind? That is also your creation." Brahma said, "The mind has no attributes of its own, it is just there. People can make joy out of it or misery out of it. People can make agony out of it or ecstasy out of it, it's left to them." Then Shiva sat down and looked at the creation very carefully, observed every creature, and then he wanted to know his own mind. So he closed his eyes and started looking at the nature of his own creation, his own mind, and when he realized, when his realization came to a certain absoluteness that actually creation is without attribute, each individual can make whatever he wants. The mind is attributeless. So when he realized this, then he became so ecstatic that he jumped and danced. He danced wildly out of his joy and ecstasy. As he danced intensely, with absolute involvement, when every cell in his body was a dance by itself, suddenly he realized that this dance is not necessary either. And he noticed, at the peak of his dance, there was absolute stillness. So he sat down as an ascetic, unmoving, utterly still. They say that stillness happened on this day, on the Mahashivaratri night is when it happened. From intensity of ecstasy to absolute annihilation and stillness, these two things he went on alternating. This is the imagery that you see. Sometimes he's dancing and exuberant, sometimes he's utterly still as if nothing exists. When we say Shiva is the destroyer, it is not about destroying the world, it's about destroying your world. Your world is essentially an accumulation of past experiences and impressions. Past is seeping into the present only through your thought process. And it is projecting itself into the future through your desiring process. What you know as your desire is essentially an exaggerated version of the past. So the destruction of the past is the essential nature, because if you want to know the grandeur of the creation, that is possible only through the presently existing moment that is here right now. This is the only doorway. In utter stillness, there is no past. In absolute movement, there is no past. These are the two fundamental passages that Shiva found to give access to that which is creation and the source of creation.
Surya means, sun. As we were just now talking, sun is the source of all energy. We're here today because of the sun. The planet and the moon has a role to play, but the most important thing is the sun. If sun's rays do not fall upon this planet, there is no possibility of life. It's finished. So, this sun is not just about light. Every moment your life is kept up because of the sun. The influence of the planet and the moon is definitely there, but the volume of influence of the sun upon life is too big. So one thing that we decided to do was to be in tune with him. If you're in tune with him, the cycles of the sun, then physical health, well-being, vitality, energy, these things you don't have to bother, they're just there with you. The sun's cycles happen in once in 12.25 to 12.5 years. The moon's cycle happens in 28 days. Our female body is aligned towards the moon. It is because of that we are born, it is because of that we are here. That is true on one level. But whether you're a man or a woman, the contribution of the sun and the influence of the sun upon your physical system is phenomenal. Without it, nobody can… The very warmth in our body, which is a sign of life, is only because of the sun.
So how to get in tune with him? So that your cycles will run in 12-year cycles, not less. If your cycles run, if your physiological cycles run in sync with the sun's cycles, your physical health will be great, your mental balance will be perfect, and your life will happen effortlessly. This is the basis of all spiritual sadhana, which is physical in nature, so that you get in sync with the cycles of the nature. Your existence here is not free from the cycles of what's happening in natural conditions. Surya Kriya means doing the sun within you. Because there is a sun within you, otherwise you wouldn't be able to maintain this temperature, isn't it? If you cannot maintain your body temperature, you're dead. You can make this body either the key to the existence, or you can make this body a roadblock in your life. If you leave this body to its compulsive ways, it will live a simple life, eating, sleeping, reproducing. This itself is a great thing for a lot of people, because nothing else has been explored. Life happens in many dimensions, all the time happening, but not in the experience of most people, unfortunately. That's how life is, right? Only one dimension is being perceived, it seems quite okay. Only when you see the other, you realize what's being missed, isn't it? I mean, Surya Kriya is a powerful system in that direction, particularly for one's physiological and psychological balance. Why is this balance so important? Balance is very important. Suppose you're riding a bicycle. Is anybody still riding a bicycle? Okay. You're riding a bicycle. If you don't have proper balance, this itself is the greatest thing in the world that you're doing. But once your balance is very good, you can look around, you can text, you can blow a kiss, you can do whatever you want. You can leave your hands, you can adventure into life because you have balance. If you did not have balance, that is the only thing you will do. Riding a bicycle itself is a great thing. Right now life has become like this for most people. Earning a living itself is a great thing. Remaining sane itself, maintaining your sanity itself is a great thing. Just being peaceful itself is a great thing. No question of adventure in life. But if you are peaceful and joyful, and it is very balanced, no matter what happens, this is how you will be, you would adventure into many things, isn't it? You would try many things, you would try to explore all aspects of life. Every door that is possible you would like to open and see what is there. But if this itself is a great feat, you will not bother to do anything. If I don't get into trouble, that's enough. Lot of people have arrived at this level of retirement. You should not retire when you're dead, when you're alive. You retire when you're dead. You may change your activity from going to office to something else. But how can you retire when you're alive? You retired means you died, isn't it? You may leave your office and do something else, that's okay.
SADHGURU'S teachings.
If you look at the classic yogic system, it is essentially created for the male body. They did not consider the female body because females never came for sadhana in those times. It was not possible for them to come, for various reasons. biological reasons, social reasons, the way everything else was. And because yoga was not taught in a studio, it was taught by some guru somewhere in some cave, in some mountain, some forest. A woman could not go in those days. So, largely, 90% of the yogic system was oriented towards the male body, not towards the female body. So many systems of yoga which are being recklessly taught today could damage a woman's body if not properly handled. One of the things that you are learning is Mayurasana. They told you not to do Mayurasana? Yeah. Because that's not suitable. It's a peacock asana, not a peahen asana. So, like this there are many aspects, some of them are very physical aspects, some of them are more subtle, but they are there. There are certain things a woman should not do at all. There are some certain things that she should not do at certain times. So what she should not do at all, generally in Isha Yoga we have not even looking at those things except Mayurasana and a few other things which are not in coming in touch with you. For brahmacharis we have a few things which are not necessary for others. So, during certain times, what you should not do depends from one woman to another, it could be little different. Not everybody suffers those few days as much as somebody else. For some people, it throws their whole life off the track. Some people go through it without much disturbance, either in their psychological or physiological system. So depending upon how a particular person is, mild adjustments will have to be made. But if we are doing anything which is very forceful, if you're doing any practice which is forceful in nature, it is best to avoid it at those times. Because any forceful activity could cause agitation in the body and in the mind, because at that time naturally body is seeking a certain amount of rest, a certain amount of quiet, not agitated activity. There are certain other aspects which are more towards Kriya than asana. If you have learned to do asana in a very relaxed way, it's all right to do everything. If you're still not there, it's better to avoid a few things. But if you do asanas properly, the struggles that you're having with your monthly cycles should completely go away. At least the pain and the cramps and the works should just completely disappear if your sadhana is right. If it is increased after sadhana, you must wait for 3 months. After 3 months, if still not reduced, then we must relook at your sadhana, how you're doing it. What you're doing may be okay, but how you're doing needs to be looked at. With kriyas, there are more restrictions. With asana, there is not much restriction. There may be some practices which are physical postures and also kriyas. They are the things that you need to be really careful about. Like we are doing Surya Kriya. Surya Kriya needs to be looked at carefully because if too much sun burns within you, then it's very good on one level. But if it's troubling you in your feminine aspect, then we need to readjust it, we need to rejig it a little bit for you. It's very important, it's individual. There is no common prescription like that. But generally what's being taught as Isha Yoga need not be avoided, it's all fine, except the Kapalabhati, everything else is fine, can be done.
In modern medicine and modern science, there's a tendency to identify consciousness, mind and brain, make mind a function of the brain, consciousness a function of the mind, and to treat them chemically and to alter them chemically, and that well-being is good chemistry of the brain, higher consciousness is good chemistry of the brain, and unhappiness is bad chemistry of the brain. Nobody's responsible, but we need to change the chemistry to make it better. Now, in the yogic thought, brain, mind, and consciousness are three different things, but they're related at a certain level. So my question to Sadhguruji is the nature of brain, mind, and consciousness, how we can use the brain and mind in the proper way without getting stuck in them, and a model of healing that is based on more consciousness than brain chemistry.
In the yogic sciences, there is no such thing as brain. Brain is just body. Like there is a heart, like there's a liver, there is a brain, it's just body. I think this overly exaggerated sense of what is brain is coming because, as I mentioned it in the morning hour here, our education systems have become purely intellectual. We think intellect is everything. Let me… I will try to say it in a very brief way. When you say something very complex in a brief way, there will be holes in it. Please pick the holes if you find them, otherwise I'm okay. In the yogic system, we are looking at the human mind as 16 parts. These 16 parts are in 4 categories. The first one is buddhi. Buddhi means the intellect. Intellect, I'm asking you, do you want your intellect sharp or blunt? All of you must choose, I'm going to bless you. You want it sharp. So intellect is essentially like a knife. You use a knife to cut things open. This is the nature of the intellect. Whatever you give it, it will dissect. The entire modern science is coming out of human intellect. So everything is by dissection. If you give this flower to the scientist, they will rip it open and see. If you rip it open and see, yes, of course, there are many facts you will know about the flower, only thing is you won't have the flower after that. And now if you really want to know something, let's say you really want to get to know your mother, please don't dissect her. That's not the way it works. Because what you can know by dissection is material aspect of life. You cannot know life by dissection. Only the material and the physical can be dissected. But now we are using our intellect to understand the entire gamut of things. Now we try to dissect. We go on talking about unifying the world and unity and enlightenment, everything with intellect. This is like using a knife to stitch something. If you stitch something with a knife, you leave it in tatters. So you are seeing this, the more knowledge you gather about something, the more misunderstanding and further away from truth we are becoming, not because information is bad, because we are trying to stitch with a knife. So intellect is like a knife, it must be sharp, it is a survival instrument. If you did not have a discriminatory intellect, you would not be surviving on this planet, it's very, very vital. But survival is all that it can do. But intellect cannot function unless there is a certain volume of memory. If you wipe out all your memory, it doesn't matter how… whatever your IQ is right now, if you take off all your memory, you will suddenly look stupid. You may be still intelligent, but you look stupid. This always happens in India. People are putting rural children and urban children together and testing them. Just because of the volume of information that the urban child has, he looks smart. A rural child looks stupid, but you put them in real situations, you will see they will come out so smart because their intelligence is fully on. So, intellect looks smart only when you back it up with lot of information, and hence you see information technology and everybody is mad about information. They're not looking into their phones simply for waste of time, because only with all that bits and pieces of data, they look smart among their friends in the society in which they live. It's only with data they can look smart. Without data, they can't do one thing smart. I'll just tell you an example. We have two different types of schools. One is a modern kind of school where 30% of the children coming from United States in India, and another is a completely traditional school where we teach them only yoga, classical dance, classical music, Kalaripaitu, the mother of all martial arts, Sanskrit language and English language. They don't go through any academics as such. This was a few years ago. Little ones, they all run to the place to hand wash. Hand wash is at this height. Many of these 6, 7-year-olds can't reach. So all this, those who are going through modern education, they will go and stand there in a very civilized way, wait for a teacher or somebody to come and put a bench. They will climb on the bench and then wash. These other kids ran there, the older ones bend down, the younger ones climb on top of them, wash and run away. So, too much orientation towards intellect and the other dimensions of intelligence are completely uncultivated today. So the next dimension of the mind is referred to as ahankara, which we have completely ignored. Ahankara does not mean ego as most people are beginning to think, it means identity. What are you identified with? Because intellect is essentially an instrument to protect the identity that you have taken on. If I say I'm Indian, suddenly my intellect makes me think that way, makes me willing to live and die for it. You will see just a piece of cloth, if you show, I mean a flag, people will have tears in their eyes. Just the identity. If you had put them somewhere else and shown another flag, the same thing would happen. In India, Pakistan, it's very striking because it was one nation and suddenly somebody drew a line and the entire emotion, the way it works is amazing, simply because you got identified with this or that. So intellect is an instrument which protects the identity. Identity is that instrument which allows the intellect to function in a certain way. When I say a certain way, suppose you're identified just with this, me as a person. Your intellect will do only this to protecting you all the time just doing this. Now I say, my identity is my family. Now your intellect will do everything to protect that. Or you say a community, a race or a religion or a nation. In the name of race, religion, nation, how many things we have done which are utterly idiotic and inhuman, but we do it with great pride because we are identified, because this is the nature. If we have to continue that analogy, if intellect is the knife, the hand that holds it is the identity. You tell me, in handling a knife is important that it must be sharp. But whether it becomes destructive or productive is determined by the hand that holds it, isn't it? But in today's society, in today's world, there is no cultivation of the hand at all. The smaller and smaller identities that we are creating will inevitably cause disturbance within the human being and in the world. There is no other way. Right from ancient times, in Eastern cultures, always we have been taught to have a cosmic identity, aham brahmasmi. At the age of 12, you must know aham brahmasmi, this means I am the cosmos. Without identifying with a limitless identity, no education should be given. Only after identity is fixed, then education. Because without the right kind of identity, education becomes destructive because you have a limited identity. We can say whatever we want, but essentially all crime, all evil, all most terrible things that we do is just a question of limited identity, isn't it? This is my way, that is your way, this is my country, this is your country, this is my religion, this is your religion. This is all it is. So without cultivating the identity, we are sharpening the knife. We have an unsteady hand, but we are sharpening the knife and arming it with memory. So the next dimension of the mind is called manas, which is a silo of memory. Here there are 8 dimensions of memory. This starts from elemental memory, atomic memory, evolutionary memory, karmic memory and conscious memory, unconscious memory, articulate memory, inarticulate memory. Like this, there are many states of memory. As we already looked at this body carries the memory of everything that's happened on this planet. If we pay enough attention, we can know simply by looking at this how evolution has happened. Only 150 years ago, Charles Darwin talked about evolution by studying life on the planet. But over 15,000 years ago, Adiyogi spoke about how life evolved. He said, first, almost every Indian person knows it but not conscious of it, is the 10 avatars. You must be studying much of it. The first one is fish or water life, next one is amphibious, next one is a mammal, next one is half man, half animal, next one is a dwarfed man, next one is a full-grown man but volatile, next one is a peaceful man, next one is a loving man, next one is a meditative man, next one is supposed to be the mystical man. This is not one-man story, this is the evolution of life on this planet. So 15,000 years ago, somebody spoke about this by not looking into the microscope, but looking inward, because the entire evolutionary story is written here. So the yogic system is focused on this as to how to activate different dimensions of memory, because without that, with limited amount of memory, you are bound to act in immature ways. So if your intellect becomes super capable, then it's very, very important your identity is cosmic, limitless identity, and your memory is evolved, that all dimensions of memory are active. These 3 function in a certain way, some people have evolved it in certain ways, but largely it is happening in a very skewed way, too much of intellect and other things are very minimalistic. The 4th dimension of intelligence is referred to as chitta. This is a dimension of intelligence which is unsullied by memory. We must understand this. We are who we are only because of the memory that we carry. From the color of our skin to what we identify with, what we are, whether we are male or female or everything is a question of memory. It is the memory stored in this which is deciding all these aspects. Whether I am a human being or some other creature is also a question of memory. Memory is a tremendous possibility, but memory is also a limitation and a boundary. What is you and what is me is right now, the boundary of this is just memory. What I remember in my system and what you remember in your system is the boundary. So memory is also a boundary. Memory is the basis of all forms that have happened. There is a certain memory which creates patterns, which patterns in turn create physical forms. The way we are, the kind of form that we have taken is essentially out of the basic memory that is there. Never it got confused in the sense, suppose you and a cow every day start eating mangoes. Never it happens that one day by accident or by lapse of memory, the cow became human or you became a cow. Both of you eat the same food every day, but it will not happen because the memory is so strongly instilled at various levels. We are recognizing 8 different dimensions of memory, but chitta has no memory. No memory means no boundary, an intelligence beyond bounds. In the yogic culture, there is a mischievous way of expressing this. We say, if you touch your chitta, God will become your slave, because your intelligence becomes boundless, everything becomes within access. So, it is very important because this is the first time, we must understand this. This is the first time where our survival process is as organized as it is today. This is the first time that human beings have so much time to look at things, otherwise just putting the food together would take 24 hours. Once again, in affluent societies, we are going back to the same thing. As you said, in Montana, somebody has to work 3 jobs when so much land is there. Why do you need to do a job to make your food? No, because you want to buy it in Walmart. I'm saying we've just kind of twisted the entire thing. For the first time, our survival… For example, today you go into your superstore, what you need for next 1 year, you can buy, bring it home and not step out of your house for the next 1 year. It's possible, never before it was possible. Today morning's water, if you have to get, means you have to walk down to the river or the pond or something. For the first time, our survival process is so enormously organized, this is the time for humanity. This is the time for humanity to explore deeper dimensions of life.